Are there any other comments from the, please?
Hi, I'm Mary Rice. I live in Nelsonville with my husband and family since 93, 96. I did a little reading, the zoning book, so I actually would like to ask you a couple of more technical questions.
On zoning?
Yeah.
May I suggest that we better address to the zoning board?
Okay.
And Mary, for a very good reason.
Mhm.
As I said at the onset, we maintain a Chinese wall between this board and the other boards. So for us to delve into zoning issues at this point, that would present a very dangerous situation where anything by the zoning board can be questioned as being influenced by the village board. I'm sorry.
I understand. No, I shouldn't. I have comments.
Could we just hear the questions though, so you don't have.
They're not questions.
No, my only point is, we cannot discuss zoning board issues.
We don't need to discuss them.
Please, yes. Ask the questions,
I
Mary.
actually, I just have some comments that I'm
Certainly.
concerned about. I looked at the proposed site. I thought tonight was to talk about the Nelsonville Crown Street site. So I started doing a little research. I went to New York State DEC, National Wetlands. Through that 4-acre property, almost in the center is a very large wetland area, which covers 50 to 60% of the property. And as I say, it's not to one side of it, it's a little bit more towards center. Then the wetland buffer covers, almost 90% now, wetland and wetland buffer. The requirements for cell phone towers are 150-foot setback. You have to have 40,000 square feet with a minimum side of 150 in the square. I don't think you can fit the requirements for a tower on that site, and I know I don't want you to answer me because I know you can. That's okay. I'm just making the comment that by just those kinds of observations, I wonder if we should be spending a lot of time on such an environmentally constrained land. And I thought someone, I can't remember who, brought up a good point that for I don't know how many years, the village has not been using that land, but yet all of us hikers have been using it, and I forget what the term for that is. But then the other question, I don't know if I heard this right, that the approval process on this site does have to go through site plan approval. Did you say? Can you answer that question?
I will answer that question. That there is case law, and I'm not a lawyer, there's case law which suggests that a municipality can ignore or override its own zoning. Whether we would do that or not is a very serious question. Certainly one we would not contemplate without having the input of this community. As far as the wetlands are concerned, let me mention there that evaluation of wetlands impact is a necessary process here,
Yes.
which will go forward. There was an issue raised about aquifer impact. Now, I've looked at the aquifer charts, and the impact is, if it exists, it's de minimis. The issue was raised about, what was it? Come to me in a moment. At my age, you begin to lose things. Floodplain. There's no, if you look at the FEMA floodplain maps, which I have done, there is no floodplain anywhere near that, okay? There's mention, I believe, of the impact of Hurricane Irene, which was devastating in many parts of this community, and Manhattan, across the river. I happen to have a little background in the way catastrophic engineers evaluate things like that. And they would dismiss an objection that's based on a storm that is probably, you may debate this, a 100-year interval storm. So, again, these issues which you raised, which are very valid issues, will be fully evaluated.
Well, and it will be required by the state to go through a full EAF. Because of those conditions, you'll have to have public
Yeah.
comment periods, public hearings. So that's...
May I follow up on that, please?
Yeah.
Many of you are relatively new to this community. The village of Nelsonville. Many of you are relatively new to this community and may have not been aware of that the village of Nelsonville fought for over 20 years a 150-unit condo within the village. We were sued in state and federal court, both as a village and individually. We continued the fight and prevailed. So as far as our environmental record is concerned, it's beyond question.
Continue fighting.
I ran the board.
You ran the board.
Any other comments, Mary?
Thank you, because we all benefit from that work, because OSI ended up putting that property in.
I appreciate you raising this issue because, as my colleague trustee Potts mentioned, so many of the things we're hearing are based on ignorance and rumor and people. I don't follow Facebook, okay? I have a life and I'm not about to minimize it by following the nonsense that I'm told exists on Facebook. We're having this meeting so that the facts be known. I'll make a further summary comments once everyone else has had a chance to have their opportunity to speak. Anyone else?
I just finished up.
Oh, you're not finished? I'm sorry, Mary.
So I don't know, you were here, I don't know how the village ended up with that property. I haven't been able
I'll tell you how it ended up. As many of you may know and may not know, that Breakneck Ridge, I understand that, I'm
parcel.
reaching that, was owned by a company called Trap Rock. Among other things, the rocks for the Brooklyn Bridge were extracted from those quarries. As there was a decline in those quarries, Trap Rock offloaded land, and they, in 1971, turned over that parcel, among others, to the village of Nelsonville. We've done the title searches. Others would argue against that, but we would argue that that is our property. And despite rubber plant usage, we would continue to have authority over that property.
And did you also do any research into any possible deed restrictions? Were there any deed
Yeah, we've
restrictions
done that.
on uses?
No restrictions whatsoever.
So it wouldn't restrict something
No,
like this
none
use, like the
whatsoever.
OSI property?
Yeah.
It would.
We've done a hell of a lot of homework on this, Mary,
Well,
alone.
Okay, I am concerned, well, I find it a funny piece. Now, and I didn't even look at the Rockledge site, so I will do a little homework on
Yeah,
that site and see what
that
it
would be
is.
worthwhile.
But this one seems to be heavily burdened towards approval, and I would think that we wouldn't be picking a site, as you say, against so much opposition and with so many, I guess, required variances, that, you know, because of
Understood.
constraints, or
Understood.
being able to get approval from the DEC or the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And then perhaps my last comment would be, it's all seeming a little rushed. Maybe we need to call for a moratorium so that we can all study this.
I wish we could. We can.
I think you're allowed to. I don't think we've done that yet in this village.
Fine. But your comments are very much appreciated, believe me.
Thank you.
Is the moratorium permitted?
I don't think so.
Once again, it's debatable in law. That once the toothpaste got out of the tube on Rockledge,
But you said it can't, it's not possible. but
I
it's available,
I'm not a lawyer. My understanding is speaking to legal counsel, and also, cover a few other points in a moment. No is the answer. We can't declare a moratorium. Please,
Thank you.
identify yourself and address,
My name
please.
is Lisa Saban. I live a few blocks away in Parsonage and Pine.
Thank you.
I'm shocked by this point, and I know it was brought up at the very beginning of the meeting. Somebody said, why do we need it? And so what I'm hearing is, you have to. You have no choice. Lawyers are telling you you have to do what laws are saying. FCC. I don't know much about this issue. All I'm hearing and feeling, we don't want it, but I'm hearing we have to. So we have to figure out a place. So that's what it feels like. So can you address
Yeah, it's a very
why we
uncomfortable
need it?
feeling, isn't it?
Do we need it, and can we choose not to have it?
All right, I'll respond on that again. That the engineering surveys, backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, are putting pressure on us as part of an overall program to enhance cell phone service, okay? The FCC is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. The FCC is offering us 150 days to review and either disapprove or approve that. As I mentioned to you at the onset, typically when we do a subdivision, it takes a year, okay? So the reality is, as I mentioned also at the onset of this meeting, and perhaps if there's anyone else that wants to speak, I'll restrain myself there and have another speaker. Yes, sir.
Joe Plummer, I live in the school here. I'm obviously not in favor of it being there, but I just want to address the gap. The gap is between the United States and the rest of the world. If one of the issues is mountains get in the way, I go to Japan a lot. There's no country with more mountains than Japan, and their service is superior to American service, both broadband, cell phone, and you can get it down in the subways as well as walking up above the land. The same is true in Korea, and it's also true throughout Europe, that the service is far superior, and they do it with distributed networks, small little micro stations all over the place, as opposed to these big 200 feet high cell towers disguised as a pine tree. So I'm just saying that one of the reasons these other countries have done it differently is because of this safety issue. In the 90s, I worked with both Nokia and Philips, and the research was very troubling to them. And so they decided to create this other way of distributing cellular capability. And so I know you don't have a choice in the matter at the moment, but it just feels to me like we're going to have to suffer because the market leaders in our country are so far behind the rest of the world that we're forced to take on these monstrosities in our community because they're unable to be innovative. As Sandy said, why don't we bring a little science and a little innovation to this and come up with a more innovative solution that doesn't harm so many people and just totally change the character of where we live.
I'm sorry?
I live on Lovegoose Bridge, and our block goes through to Cedar Street, and I would like to second that motion. Already, there's been a number of patents delivered to airborne wireless networks that make synchronized links with lasers.
Right.
So I think the fear of this for me is that there is new technology. It's already there. Google and Facebook are putting lots of money into it, and it's going to go the way of the mall graveyard. We're going to build all these towers. This technology moves fast, They'll all be graveyard things sticking up in the air, and they'll have no use because they'll
We
be
agree.
a cheaper, faster, better way to do it in a very short period.
Hi, my name is Seamus Carroll. I've been a resident for 32 years. I had a clarification question for you. The issue of the 1996 ruling, which basically guarantees that a cell tower can go into a community, has been brought up a few times. I just want to make sure I understand. Does that law compel the village to lease the land, or can you say no for any reason?
We could say no.
We can say no.
Nancy Reagan.
And we only
Please,
have-
Tom, you have a comment?
Yes, a couple of comments. We're here to discuss an alternative location. We understand where you're from. We felt it behooved us to at least show an alternative site. Some of the situations describing the site are totally erroneous. This site is our lot, it's owned by the village. There is a path through there, and actually that path goes through, was cut with my grandson and one of his buddies. He cut a path down to cut a corner, because I live right next door also. So that is the fact that there is water on the property. It's very well defined. It does not take up a lot of the premises, but we would go through this. But the thing is, we wanted to offer an alternative site. If it doesn't fly, it's up to us to say no. But we wanted an open meeting here to discuss it, because we have your other villagers on the other side there, where they're really in tough trouble. Because we've got 5 weeks?
December 17th is the
December
drop date.
17th, that's the drop date, and it's over. We've got, let me tell you, we've got two great boards. Our mayor was the chairman of the planning board. We've got Steve Marino, an engineer. We've got people sitting on there as a vote.
William Rice, who's in the back of the room, an architect.
An architect. We've got another gentleman on there. He's a CFO of a major corporation. We've got really great talent. You go to the zoning board. We've got William Rice, an architect. We've got some other great people on there. We have a new, spring of this year, we brought on a new code enforcement officer. Fantastic. He is also a licensed architect. We are very concerned. This is our village. We love it. And we were trying our best. We came here, and all good reason, and we expected to push back. We understand the pushback and your concerns, but we had to offer it there's no other property. People say, find another piece of property. You find a piece of property. We've got one neighbor who gave away 9.3 acres, and we're all sitting here suffering because of that individual. We are struggling over this. We feel it. None of us.
I'd like to just, my name is Carl Byrne. I live in Phillipshead in Cold Spring, East Mountain Road South. I'm one of the new people to the town, if you like.
Welcome.
So, I don't have the 20-year tenure. But I can't hear
It shows.
So there's a couple of things here. I came in a little bit late, but I caught the gist of it. I just wanted to call out some questions. Obviously, the health aspect has been called out as being immaterial to the discussion. However, you made it part of your discussion, so I just want to go back to a couple of things that you said. One was 100 times the strength or the power coming from a personal device versus what the tower will limit. It's been well written about that people are recommended not to hold a cell phone to their head as much as they can, to use a corded or other device to use that for a longer period of duration. It's also been well documented and recommended that children whose bone structure has not fully developed are more susceptible to these types of radio waves, and we don't know the answer, whether or not it's
Absolutely
going to be
agree.
powerful or not. And so we're talking about putting a massive cell phone tower in the midst and closeness to an elementary school where children and young adults have not fully developed in a physical manner. And we're trying to compare holding a cell phone to an adult's head through the FCC, discovery versus a tower that's going to be piled, like somebody else said, with many, many different devices in terms of its lifespan. And that's going to emit stronger and stronger signals to as much of the valley as it can. I think that's a big problem. I think if health is immaterial, I also live in an area where I walk up to drive up to my house and I can't have a phone call on my cell phone. I'm not asking for anyone to come install a cell phone tower in my house. There is technology in everybody's phone now. You can have your Wi-Fi calling come through your cell phone on your phone. Great. That's your personal choice. That might increase the radio signature and strength to you as a person or in your household. That's your personal choice. Another thing that I hear quite often from the board here is that the land in question is our land.
Yeah.
This is not your land. This, as constituents in the Phillipstown constituency, is our land. Not your land, it's our land. And when I see the body language of at least two of the gentlemen up here, when people come up to speak, there is heads down. You are not looking at your constituents. You are not being. You're not. That's unfair.
That is totally unfair.
But that's maybe that's immaterial. To
Where
some.
were you when the war started?
Where was I when the war started?
Yes.
What war?
The cell phone wars in this community.
Cell phone wars?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I live here with two young children who come here to this school.
No, I'm not kidding you.
I don't
Okay.
care about cell phone wars. I care about what we're doing as a community. And you represent the community.
You have no
So-
respect for people who are working very hard to do their best.
I work very hard, and if we want to talk about who's contributing to, it's people who come here and buy
Fine, I'll comment on that, sir. I will comment on that, sir.
So that
Your comments have been heard. I will comment on it in due course.
Okay.
Are there any other comments?
Well, yeah.
With all due respect to everybody, I've been coming to these meetings continuously. And it's everybody's human emotion when it's going to be close to you, you're going to step in the game. And I didn't want to talk. I wasn't going to say a word. All night. But you brought me up to my feet because no to what? No to 2 cell towers, no to this site, no to that site. That's not the way you respect everybody here. Everyone has to respect each other. That's not respectful. I take offense to that, okay? I have neighbors with little kids that are gonna be, as far as I can throw a baseball to that tower if it goes up on Rock Ledge, okay? And there's other people there that have been in their homes for many, many years. People have taught in the school, people of respect, and they're gonna be affected by it too. So we're all gonna be affected. Someone's gonna end up being affected more than other people. And you know, it's tough. We have to just stick it out. We got guys that are working their asses off, trying to get it done. You know, if we all had all that much money, if the money's the issue, maybe we can buy this Logan guy out, take his property. What's so hard about that? Why don't you guys all get on the horn and say, how can we raise money and buy this guy out? That would be a solution right there. Right? And then we'd be back to Nelsonville, right? So it's going to come back. It's going to be back over here. One other point, just so that people that haven't been on board since the beginning. The Manitou School is a lot closer to the tower that's going on the ridge. It's approximately 500 and something feet.
1,200.
As with, how much?
1,200. It came out at the last meeting, 1,200.
Is it 1,200?
Yeah.
My recollection is it's about
Close?
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet, okay.
Yeah,
So
no, I
we're
know,
in
I
the
know.
same ballpark because the one they're saying is approximately 1,129 feet away from the Howdown School. So we're all in the same boat. So I'm just saying, try to come to a consent. Try to, whichever way this falls, don't hate anybody. Just love each other.
Any Any other comments from the floor?
I did want to make a point of information, Mr. Mayor, respectfully.
Please, I can't hear you.
I want to make a point of information
Please.
respectfully about your distributed antenna system comment. It isn't categorically true that it won't work. It works throughout Europe, very heavy mountainous areas. They actually use it in places where there are a lot of mountains because putting up a pole wouldn't make sense. And what the reality is, to your point, is when you get up into higher mountains or lower valleys, you just need to put more of the antennas in. And it is something that, you know, when we talk about an elegant solution, I know it's very hard because in the end of the day, the cell phone companies can't hang any more tower or any more antennas on it, so they're very negative about doing that. They'll say it's more expensive to install. It probably is, but in the end of the day, it's very inconspicuous. It's aesthetically much different, obviously, than a tower.
Obviously.
And I would encourage anybody to look into it more because a lot of other communities around America are trying to force that issue to go to distributed antenna systems. Because they do service well. You just have to put in a lot of these small antennas.
Thank you, and we have consulted with the engineers on this. We're not engineers here. And the answer we've gotten back is the system won't work here. So if you have independent engineering on that one, it is welcome to this board. Yes.
I thank you and I support the elegant solution. I keep hearing you have no choice, you have to put a cell tower somewhere here and somebody's got to suck it up. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me, but I support Carolyn Llewellyn's let's get creative because I feel you guys really want to do the right thing. I just keep hearing, we have no choice, the FCC's got against the wall. Can we just not have it? I keep hearing you have no choice, suck it up, Phillipstown.
Well, we don't want to suck it up, but the point is we do have to deal with reality. And for many in this room who see regulation as an answer to many of the issues in this nation of ours, be careful what you wish for. Because the rule that we're operating on, the rule we are operating under is not a statutory rule. It was a ruling by the FCC which held up in federal courts. We don't have an option here. Yes, sir.
Point of information, you said you did engineering studies?
Yes.
And you looked at the zoning and all of that, and did you do a study on the effect on property values that would be affected by the cell tower?
That's not within our purview.
I brought some.
Why not?
Inasmuch, let me answer the question. Inasmuch as we cannot operate as attorneys on behalf of property owners here. If there is an issue that you would like to cover, for instance, which I've encouraged property owners and homeowners to find evidence, usually you have to look at an assessor with this expertise, then I encourage you to do so. We cannot do it as a village.
You were given a folder of studies that, at least incidentally, point out repeatedly that property values are devalued around the cell tower. Have you not taken that into consideration in putting this cell tower?
I just received
in
those
this site?
reports. I've done independent research on this as well, and you need very specific evidence. I can't look at, for example, what's happened on Virginia Beach. We need to have a look at what would happen in property values here. Therefore, as homeowners, I strongly encourage you to engage an assessor to render an expert opinion on that.
But wouldn't that be what we would expect our elected representatives
No, it
to
is
help
not.
us with?
It is not. I'm sorry?
Yep.
Well,
There's something I just don't understand. I keep hearing that you have 150 days to approve or not. And then I hear you have no choice. So what happens if you disapprove? What happens then? Why is there no choice?
I'd like to answer the young woman that was up there asking. What is in play right now? What is in play right now is going forward on Rock Ledge. That's been in play for 3-4 months. Both committees have been working on it. We've taken it almost to the conclusion. There's a public meeting in 1 week. And from there on, if it goes forward, it doesn't go forward, the shot clock of the 150 days expires at 12/17. That's why we were anxious to get comments from all of you. Now, I recognize
The rule is that under FCC rules, if the 150-day shot clock runs out without a decision by the boards, I'm not suggesting that would happen, that we lose municipal sovereignty and that we have no word or ability to influence the building of a tower. And I heard several people groan at the regulatory comment, but ponder that.
So are you saying that if it did not work for the Nelsonville piece of property right off Secor, that it would then automatically go to back to Rockledge? What, is that what would happen?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. If
this board and the decision was made that that property was not suitable for all the reasons that everybody has been talking about tonight,
yeah. Well,
then would it automatically end up back at Rockledge?
well, Rockledge is alive as we speak here.
That's-
So Rockledge is going through an active process on this. As you heard from us, we're offering the potential to relocate a cell phone tower at the Secor Street property. Whether that will go forward or not, we have had good faith discussions with the folks at Homeland Towers, and we are proceeding ahead to undertake tests there as to the suitability of that location.
The question is, can't we say no to you?
But one at a time, please.
Are you in favor of having the cell tower in that portion for Nelson?
I am in favor of representing the needs of this community. I am in favor, as the mayor of Nelsonville, obviously, what is happening with our citizens. Yet, we have spread that opportunity to people beyond Nelsonville because we believe it is a community issue. I will comment that in a moment. Yes, sir.
I've been a resident of Nelsonville for 21 years.
Uh-huh.
I walk with my kids through that path. I use the woods on a weekly, daily basis. And I think in terms of the aesthetics and the character of it, that it's neither site is a good site. But to me, this 4-acre plot impacts a lot more people.
And we welcome your opinion on that.
And I just hope you have heard us tonight.
Can you
Yes.
address the earlier, this is the question I was asking before. Can the community have confidence that this board can make a fair judgment on the facts of the two options when it's expressed such strong, what seem like personal views about the plot over the cemetery that's owned by a private owner? And
Your question is, can we represent a fair evaluation?
I don't see evidence.
Where were you when the war began?
The war ends now, and that's where.
According to you?
But this wasn't on the agenda at that point, right?
Fine, I'll have comments on that. Again, much of the comments we're hearing are fraught with limited knowledge.
I'm setting aside the medical issues because I've written about that.
I understand that.
I'm talking about the
I understand that. I'll express a little frustration in a moment, all right?
The
Permit me
last
to
thing is, you
do
talk
so.
about, this is not about regulation either. What about the free rights of the property owner to develop his land?
Contact Congressman Maloney, I
Yeah,
have.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question that I think is confusing all of us, especially the person who just spoke. I am against the cell phone tower overlooking my grave at the cemetery. I will be there.
You found it.
Along with
You found
Emily.
it.
I'm looking forward to getting there, but go ahead.
And I'm certainly against the cell phone tower here. I'm against the cell phone tower anywhere. The question is,
Who are we?
can the board say no to a cell phone tower anywhere in Nelsonville?
No.
And why, if the answer is no, why is the
So
answer?
are you a property owner?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Presume for a moment you were,
Yes,
as was the property adjacent to the cemetery.
right.
As a property owner, you can offer your property for many uses. The process is that use will go to our code enforcement officer, and he makes a determination whether that use is congruent with our zoning. If it is not, that goes to a zoning board of appeals. If the zoning board of appeals approves, gives a variance, then you can do what you wish on your property. This is not a society, I hope, where we live, where the government comes in, except in the case of the FCC, I suppose.
And the EPA.
And who?
The EPA.
EPA, yeah. Well, we're all concerned about the carbon footprint in Phillipstown.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Mhm.
But
I think the
Ma'am?
question,
Can you say?
I think the
Please.
question that they're trying to figure out is, what happens if the zoning board says no? Then it
Right.
goes to, why do they say no? It has to be a good reason, you just can't say, no, I don't want it there.
Well, I
So if
heard
it says no.
I heard aesthetics, I heard
Right.
history.
Right,
So we
so
have
then
all of
it
those
goes,
claims.
it goes back to Homeland Towers, and they take it from there. I think that's.
If they
that's
find
what's-
another site, and a willing landlord, that's all they need.
Outrageous.
So then we would.
No, it's,
So then, would it make sense to approve the Secor location before we hear a yes or no on the Rock Ledge location?
we need to take certain steps, as you've heard tonight, to do a full evaluation of that. And again, we're transmitting here, I hope folks are receiving, that there's nothing signed. We are in good faith discussions. We're not trying to walk homeland down the garden path here. We see it as a suitable alternative. You may not agree with that, and that's why we have this meeting. We need to evaluate the environmental consequences. We've mentioned to you repeatedly that the health issues, that dog won't hunt. So we're trying to act in concert with this community, which I will comment again in a few moments, and express some degree of pique during my comments. Yes, please.
I was just wondering who prepared these documents?
Those are prepared to us by Homeland Towers.
Okay. And where did, I saw this piece, I guess it quoted the FCC, there's a quote here. Where does that come from?
From
Is that code?
It's FCC regular. Once again, the volume, the application for the tower weighed over 10
I don't know the
pounds.
specific section, but this is FCC.
Yeah, this is, I believe, section
And-
306?
That's okay, I don't need to know that.
Section 332, I don't know.
No, okay, fine.
I just didn't know where
Yeah.
it came from, if it was local, federal.
This is
some other
federal.
code.
This is a federal agency.
Okay, because there's nothing, doesn't say.
Oh, I'm
where it's
sorry.
rep- It's okay.
You can go
And
on,
then-
you can go on the website and read the engineering report.
Yes.
It's quite comprehensive.
All the information, by the way, will be put up on our website. We encourage you, as they say, visit the website.
And then in the third paragraph, it says localities are permitted to reject a cell tower if the tower is deemed unsightly, which is one reason for the disguises.
That is true.
So how is?
That's supported by case law.
Okay, and that's FCC too? That's all part of the
FCC,
same document?
federal courts have, I'm not a lawyer,
Okay.
federal
Never mind.
courts have found that, and broadly speaking, a significant impact on the aesthetic quality of an area is grounds to not grant a special use permit, which is required.
And so how is that,
I'll comment on that in a moment.
how is that defined? Deemly?
In the eye of the
who
beholder,
defines
in that
deemed?
case, the beholder is a federal court judge.
So a federal court judge
That is
decides
correct.
what is deemed unsightly.
We're faced with As someone mentioned earlier, we can't say, hey, look, we hate the way it looks, period, and go to court on that one. We have to provide convincing evidence that it's unsightly, all right?
I'm following you.
Yeah, good.
So that's the only thing we can kind of hang our hat on.
Well, it's not the only thing. Homeowner value. Homeowner value is also an issue,
Okay.
okay?
So deemed, let me just go through it. Deemed unsightly, so, like, I saw the plan here, something was called, sorry, I'm not used to talking in front of crowds.
Please, you're doing extremely well.
What a monopine is, what's.
I'll explain what
specifically is that
monopine
based
is.
on? And I'm not trying to make a mockery of
No, I know you're
anybody's
not.
definition.
Your opinions, as everyone else's here,
I'm not
are
trying to
welcome.
offer opinion, I'm just
However, we
asking.
reserve the right to clarify based on fact rather than
Trying to
speculation.
understand the
A
facts that are
monopole
on
is a
this
single
handout.
pole, rather than the old towers which are made by, what would that be called? Lattice construction. So the monopole is a single pole. The antennas are placed on the top of that pole. In this case, there's contemplation of what they call a stealth tower. A stealth tower is one that is disguised with ersatz shrubs up there. Ersatz means fake.
Those things that hang off.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There are several levels of stealth.
Okay, and so there's only one model of pine to choose from? Like this is the
There are
only
several models,
look
and
of monopines?
several
I'm not trying to
monopines.
make fun, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, there's one that looks
If
like a
this has to
Douglas
go
fir.
through, if this goes through, I'm trying to understand.
I'm trying to
what
explain
it's
it to
gonna
you.
look like.
You've seen them, we've all seen them. But
I've
they
seen
have
some of them,
enhanced,
Some better than others.
they have,
And then, so if it's 120 feet high,
yes.
do we know how high the trees are where this is going?
Well, we eyeballed them, at least I did. And I would say probably around 50, 60 feet. I will ask, but I may be inaccurate, I will ask if they deem it appropriate, I'll ask Homeland to comment on that momentarily.
I'm wondering, well, who gets to decide what's unsightly? Because my idea of unsightly is probably different than anyone else's idea of unsightly.
Yes, of course.
So those are just.
However, our individuals' opinions need to be backed by credible evidence.
Okay, and then how do you back? This
I'll
is
tell you how
ugly
you
or
back it.
Pretty.
We had a
Is it
balloon
defined
test,
some other place?
a balloon test over the weekend of the Rockledge site. Nelsonville placed 2 ads, one in the PCNR, one in the Highland Current, asking people to take the time, early morning admittedly, to observe and photograph and send us photographs of that. Except for a few people who have been involved in the battle from the onset, once again, there was a profound silence.
Well, I think a lot of people volunteer in many different ways. I was volunteering with our Cub Scouts that morning, so I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
So was my wife,
Where
and
were
I
these,
admire that.
is that what these photos were based on? Folks who
They are
observed it?
photos, simulations, because, well, the ones you have are actual. There's an Amma Walk, look in the top of that.
Because
One
this
is an
not
Amma
from
Walk.
Village of Nelsonville.
No,
Okay.
no. The Homeland provided us with examples of towers elsewhere.
Thank you.
We do have to move on here.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Bowman, just a minute.
go, please.
I see the balloon, and you said there's like 100-foot difference between the tower and the tree line. So
I may have misspoke. I could verify the height and revert to you.
you're not anywhere near the tree line. So could you provide a schematic or a photo?
Hey, may I see what you're looking at?
It's on the website. Handed out, and the balloon.
It's on our website. Thank you.
photo of what it might look like.
Yeah.
Which are the simulations are interestingly taken like this, so that the towers actually look like they fit in. But you know what? If you look at the balloon, it really wouldn't fit in.
Yeah, well, I don't think they hired George Lucas to do it, but I'm sure they have a bias. Yes.
Mr. Bowman, do you wish to
I
talk?
see that these were taken from down below, so yes, the tower looks like it belongs there, but I think if you look at the balloon picture, could you make one with where the balloon is? The tower there?
Yeah. We're putting everything up on the website. We invite you. It's already, but we're putting everything,
Yeah,
including
but the
what,
picture she's looking for is up on the website. They're on the website.
yeah, okay. All right, I'm going to wrap this up at this point. I think we've had some repetition. I will ask Mr. Robert Gaudioso whether you have any comment that you would like to make.
No, Mr. Mayor, we appreciate your courtesy tonight. We do have a pending application. We
Right.
continue to negotiate in good faith on a potential alternative site. We're happy
As
to
do
answer
we.
any questions.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just would like to make a couple of summary comments here. Please do.
Sorry, I just wanted to get this out. This is very difficult for us, and we realize it is part of our job responsibility. And then I was talking to my wife earlier that this is a great country we live in. There are places in the world where you cannot go up to your elected officials and speak to them like we do here. So I just want to thank you for coming out, honestly. That's from my heart. I think it's wonderful.
I would add that Trustee Knott's wife is one of the most admirable women I've ever met. She's on her way, if they approve the visa, to Iraq, and she travels around with an armored Humvee with security guards, and she's a delightful woman. I'm going to sum up here a little bit because I've heard a lot of things. This is not an adversarial discussion, although it from time to time may seem so. I engaged in that battle of April of 2016, as Homeland Towers can attest, opposing siting of a tower in this community. I engaged understanding the critical role of the FCC with our local congressmen, and once again, I encourage you to do the same. I have emailed, I have written letters, and we've had no response. I've worked as a liaison with Congress, a gentleman by the name of Congressman Dingell, who is renowned, and I know what a congressman can do and what he can't do. I want to tell all of you that this fight has been carried on by this board and by our other boards alone, that we have engaged with our state senators, our county executives, OSI, Scenic Hudson, you name it. The young woman here from Hudson Highlands Land Trust was contacted as well, apparently to no end. So we're fighting this battle alone. We're fighting on your behalf. We're here to give you the facts so we don't get into the quagmire of nonsense. I don't want to hear the political speech. I am non-political. I want the support of this community in all the decisions we make. And if you're absent without leave, then you have to accept the consequences of what happened. You're all new faces here, some from Nelsonville, some from other places. Join the fight, okay?
Amen, Mr. Mayor. Couple of interesting points. Hudson Light Trust. One of the board members, Mr. Osborne, has one right next to his house. In fact, the generator hooks into his house. The person who's building up on Vineyard Way, he's going to have one right next to his house. And that's a big house. They're not afraid. The thing is, we are so concerned for you that we came here. We love what you gave us in input. We take it. We know you're upset. There's 3 of us on the board. There's going to be space for 2 more, maybe 3 more next in the spring. We want you to join us. We have met with OSI, several meetings. We're meeting with the trails people, which all fringes around this piece of property. And a few other things that we've done. We've met with the state. We've had the state DOT in. We've gone and met with the head of the county transportation. We want to do a traffic study with the 2 villages and the town. they've got the equipment. But right now, we're just concentrating on this, but we've got a lot of things going on in the village. And we thank you to come. We hope you come to the 15th meeting. That's next, after the town hall, next Wednesday. Thank you.
8 o'clock.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. A motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting,
Seconded.
Mr. Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.